Hi, Gale. It's great to have you with us today. Thank you very much. Can you share with us a little bit about your background, like where you are from, and what's your experience at the University of Akron, and how did you decide to get an accounting degree?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thank you for the invitation, Lee. I really appreciate it. And hello, audience. And so good to be with you here today. So, my background is I'm a born and raised Akron girl. And when I started the University of Akron, I grew up in a family with a pile of children. So, we didn't have any money for colleges. So, I worked part time at Roadway Express and I was in the overshort and damaged freight department there. So I'd spend half of my time telling people that we smashed their TVs and don't be upset. And then the other half of my day down at the university learning big subjects.
Your career has taken many twists and turns. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey?
Yes. I would say that one of the important things is to get to know thyself and to make adjustments as you are learning yourself. And many people know a lot about themselves when they come out of college. I was not one of them. I was one of those that, trial and error and all that. And back in those days, it was like, well, you get a job and you keep it, until you get your gold watch. It's different today, thank God, because you have really expectations of more variety and self, searching for self and whatnot. But basically, the first thing I found out after I went to Cleveland is I hated cold weather. And I always knew I hated cold weather, but I realized now that I had a choice of where I could live. So after a few years of auditing up there and the wind whipping off the lake at 60 miles an hour and whatnot, I said, I can't take it. And I'm a warm weather person. So I packed my bags and moved to Atlanta. So I ended up at Price Waterhouse in Atlanta as an auditor and did that for a few years. But I found that accounting back in the day was a very harsh environment for women. I was only one of three females who graduated with my accounting degree that year. And worse than that, I was a Yankee in the South. And a woman in public accounting back in the day. So it wasn't that I didn't love it, it was culturally not a fit. So I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And these are these pivots that I talked to you about. So I said, well, maybe the corporate world would be better. So I was interviewing at IBM and some other corporate companies down here. And I walked into the IBM office and they said, we're a sales office. We don't have accountants. So we don't have any jobs for you. And I said, well, thank you. And they said, wait a minute. We think you can sell. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm a CPA, I'm a professional. No, I'm not doing that. And they said, well, these were big mainframes. These are just big accounting machines. And we can teach you how to sell. We can't teach you how to be analytical. And we really won't need analytical people who can understand what a big computer can do. They pursued me, Lee, for a year, and I kept saying no. And finally, a year later, they said, listen, we're starting our first class with female salespeople, and we really, really want you. And so I said, well, here are my demands, and they came through. So I said, okay, well, I'll try this. So I went into IBM, into sales. And the next many years, I was in sales and marketing and new product development. I wasn't even a practicing CPA anymore, even though I'm still to this day a CPA in both Ohio and Georgia. And it served me so well with what I'm doing now. But for the next couple of decades, I was in IBM for a decade, and then I was in venture capital backed technology startups for a decade. And I found out, by the way, that actually I was an entrepreneur and I kept my CPE up all these years. Maybe all these things that I've learned, by now I knew how to get a company off the ground and grow it. And maybe the CPA profession would be a place where that could be valuable. So I used all of my skills that I teach people now about getting a company off the ground and evaluated the CPA space. And it was excellent, excellent, because CPA firms know how to do the work. They just don't know exactly how to grow the firm. And so I started this consultancy. And now I have it all pulled together. I consult with mid-market CPA firms and I help them grow, and accounting firms, because now I'm all over the world with chartered accounting firms as well. And I have the best of everything. The entrepreneur that I am now, I'm an entrepreneur, and I like to help people, which I'm doing, but moreover, I like to tell them what to do. That's what a consultant does. So I tell them what to do, and I have to, motivate them to do it. I love to travel, and I'm all over the world. I am literally on an airplane before our current circumstances from Monday to Friday, right? And all over the place. And I'm using all the pieces of my background. I'm using my understanding of the CPA world, and I'm combining it with all the other growth parts. And so that's what I do.
How did being a woman impact your career choices?
It impacted it in a couple of ways. The first way was it caused me. I wasn't ever a cause person. I'm not what's the word I want to use? A flag waver type person. So I wasn't out to prove anything. I was just using my natural gifts. I found that I was consistently running into issues with, well, she's just a woman, so she'll get married and have kids, and we're not going to invest in her. So I kept getting into walls through my career. And when you look at my resume, it looks like a checkerboard. I've had 9 different jobs over my career, and the reason why is I would just get stuck, and it was like I couldn't go any further with whomever or whatever because I was a woman. Mm-hmm. And I would say that as a result, it caused me to leave a number of different jobs, because the other thing it did is it made me strong. In other words, I would not give up. I mean, these were my God-given skills, and God gave me these skills. Even though I was a woman, he gave me these skills. He did not give me the skill of cooking, right? Which I can't cook. It's like, well, women are supposed to know how to cook. I can't cook, and I don't like to cook. So I realized that I never really noticed I was a woman. I know that sounds strange, but to me, it was like a non-factor. It may have been a factor to other people, but it never was to me. So I never let whatever they were thinking about it, like, I just didn't notice. I just did what my God-given gifts were. So those were some of the experiences of being a woman.
Now, looking back, what were the most important lessons and decisions that you've made resulting in your career success?
Wow. I would say that 2 things. Number one is, it'll hitchhike on to the comments that I just made, is to persevere. In other words, if somebody isn't giving you the opportunities to use your God-given gifts for whatever reason, because your skin's the wrong color, or you're the wrong gender, or they simply just don't like you, that you must move on. You must push through it and move on. And my mother used to say, when life knocks you down, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you move on. So perseverance is something that is a wonderful learned quality. And that is probably one of my most important lessons. And the second lesson is to stay true to who you are. And by that, I mean, through my career, I always felt that if I did something that was easy to do, like accounting, then it wasn't that important, that I wanted to go do something that was really hard because it was too easy to do. So how could it be so important? And then somewhere along the way, it's like, wait a minute, this is so easy for me. But I allowed other people's a value of importance to color my thinking. So if I were in a company where accounting wasn't perceived as important to the mission, then I would shy away. Or if I were in a company where marketing was not perceived as part of the mission of the company and importance, then I would say, well, I want to go over where they think it's important. Well, sales is important. Oh, I want to be there. And I see this right now in accounting firms, because accounting firms, there are a lot of marketing people in accounting firms, and they're treated like second-class citizens, like their functional area of expertise is not important, and yet it is critical. And so what I've learned is, don't let anybody else put their values on your things that are important to you, because we're all equally valuable and we all have very important things to bring to the party. And make sure that you kind of burn that in your brain.
What words of wisdom do you have that you want to share with us?
Wisdom number one: life is a series of problems to solve. That's what it is. And so if you know that, and you know that that is the nature of the beast, you won't be thrown. When some of you listening to this have already had some really tough knocks in life, and then others of you not so much, but by the time you're 50, anybody who's 50 years old, you would have gotten knocked down. All of us get knocked down in different ways. And it is how you get back to my mother's saying, how you get up and pick yourself up, dust yourself off and move on. Learn from all these things that are difficulties in life, and know that life is just, I mean, there's wonderful things about life, but it absolutely is salt and peppered with difficulties. So that's one thing. And then the second thing I'd say is that what I've concluded now is that we're all put here to do God's good work on this earth. And he's put us each here to help other people, to use our gifts and to help other people to improve their lives. And when you do that, when you find your God-given gifts, and when you use those gifts to help others, you have found your purpose for living.